And for the Kimbo Slice fight, what do you have to say to the people that think that it was fixed?
Well, it's. Listen, that to me that's sad because this is what we call realization. Things happen in fights, and what people are used to seeing from Ken Shamrock, and then seeing what they saw against Kimbo. Understandably, why you would think that because you're used to seeing something different. But I've got bad knees. When I hit the ground, I don't scramble my feet very well. When I'm on the ground and I got a submission, I do well. My stand-up's good. But when I hit the ground and I got to scramble back up, I'm slow. I just don't move that well. The only thing I could see about that fight, and I agree, is that when I put him in the choke and then he tapped. I see how people would think that that was, why didn't they stop the fight? I myself don't understand. Maybe it was a missed thing. I don't know. But I've questioned it. But I know it wasn't done intentionally. That I know for sure. But in fights, referees miss things. Fighters make mistakes. It happens. So as I'm sitting here, as God is my witness, that fight was not fixed. It was just things that happened in that fight that weren't normal.
You were one of Kimbo Slice's trainers. What's your opinion of him as a fighter overall?
Yeah, Kimbo, well, he came all the way back, right? So because we know some people, so in the for his first fight, he came to train with us for a lot of pretty much all his fights. Great guy, great person, always willing to train. Too bad he started getting knee injury. The knee injuries really, it was holding him back. He couldn't do a lot on the ground because of his knees. He simply couldn't be on his knees. We were at a friend of mine who was the doctor, was a knee surgeon, and he would get every 3 weeks, he would get like shots in his knees because it was hurting him so bad. So I think if he wouldn't have had those knees, so he could focus a little bit more on the ground and some reversals that he already did in fights, I was actually pretty amazed with him. And then take that with his manager, Mike, and the group that he had around him. Dude, it was so much fun hanging out with these guys. They're hilarious. Everybody's cracking jokes all day long, and wherever you go with Kimbo, we would do this, for instance. We would go, he was fighting in Texas, in Houston, I think it was. No, he was fighting Houston, the fighter. And we were somewhere in a hotel, and he said, hey, let's kill some time. Let's buy some video games. So they went and bought a video console, like a PlayStation, whatever it was. And then they went to the doors. We had all connecting rooms. They opened everything. They put like 4 TVs together in a circle, like facing out, so that everybody would sit down. And they were just all day long. Everybody was playing video games against each other. But, going to Best Buy and buy the PlayStation or whatever it was at the time, you can't go anywhere with Kimbo. Everybody knows this guy. So you walk into the Best Buy, that's it. One person comes, and then the whole freaking place starts. So that was a little hard for him. I can only imagine what it must be for him to go through regular life because everybody recognized him.
Now, you, of course, had your fights with Ken Shamrock, and there was that big, I think it was in Bellator, Kimbo against Shamrock. Many people feel that there could have been some underhanded stuff that went on in that fight. What's your opinion of it?
No, that was not. He simply lost. Kimbo's not a guy who makes fights or fixes fights. I can tell you that for sure. That's just not the way. If he loses, he wants to lose for real. If he wants to win for real. So no, that was great. That was for me great also because I know about my grain skills when I was with of course, training with Kimbo. So for me, that was a fight, because that was a fight that I always wanted. I wanted to fight Ken again when he came to Pride. I was a commentator, and I told him, I said, listen, I want to fight him now. Because somehow we always thought he's defending. I saw this. Ken was saying that I already knew how to do submissions because I beat somebody with a side choke, and I go, a side choke, guys. I won 2 fights by a guillotine choke. One with a side choke, which all 3 are white belt moves. You have to understand also that if any fighter, any striker will know the guillotine, because that's the first thing you're going to do. So they're going to shoot in, you're going to wrap your arm around his neck because it's they call it the fighter submission. So I was training 9 months when I fought him for the very first time, I believe, for 12 months, or it's 11, I don't know. So, but I trained maybe once every 3 weeks. I had a submission class. So that was the difference, you know. And then finally, once Leon Van Dijk came, my buddy, who I met in August, I was 94, I believe. That's when I started training more on submissions. But still, we would do like twice a week. We weren't really going for it. You always want to do what you know best, you know, striking, because we love this, so let's do the striking, you know. And then when I lost my last fight against Ken, that was like 6 months after I met Leon. That was the moment that I said, okay, you know, now let's just throw all the striking out of the training. We're just going to do 4 times a week. I would do tight pads for my stamina, and the rest we would go 2 or 3 times a day. We would start submission fighting. And that was it. Then I never lost a fight anymore. So needless to say, when he came to Pride with my new fighting skills, I go, hey, I would love to fight him, you know. So it was the only black page in my book that I didn't set the record straight. But he said, no, we already did it twice. We don't need to do it 3rd time. So it didn't happen, unfortunately.
But he did fight Tito Ortiz 3 times.
Yep.
I guess he just didn't want to give it to you. He probably knew that it'd be more difficult, maybe.
Well, it's what he said on our show also against Kenny Rice and myself. He said, well, I've been following his career. But you know what? I have to also say that sometimes, you know, you say certain things and maybe you're not 100% behind it, right? I mean, that's possible to be just a good person. I do that. I have done that in the past. So it's very possible. But don't say me that you didn't say it, because you did say it. You know, so, but it's okay. It doesn't really matter, you know. It's like if you look, Tito lost from Frank, I beat Frank, and then if you start going all this back and then with Kimbo, you know, okay, I had Kimbo, so for me everything is okay.
I would almost buy a ticket to watch that one. Almost. You know, I will give the stand-up game to Kimbo Slice. Ken will have to get to a clinch. Ken will have to get a takedown. If it goes around, it's Ken. If it stays on the feet, it's Kimbo. Again, I'm not saying that just be mean people. I'm looking at what I feel both people's strengths are, and that's the base prediction.
Any memories of your fight with Kimbo Slice, who's now passed away pretty young?
Yeah, rest in peace, Kimbo. Yeah. You know, that fight was interesting. We had a 2-hour meeting because they thought we were both from the street and that there was going to be some not obeying the rules going on. And one of them was the no punching to the back of the head. And for the most part, it seems that he understood that, I understood that, and everything else. So I was punching with him, and so I went and shot a double, kind of tabletop myself out, and he hit me in the back of the head after I was told and watched it on the TV or whatever, tapes, rewind stuff. And he hit me blatantly in the back of the head and he knocked me out. I remember waking up on the canvas going, holy fuck, where am I at? And we were in Florida, so I'm like, this is Disneyland or something? And I open up and I get up and I stagger to my feet and I look over to my corner and they're like, what's going on? Because they never seen me knocked out. And I'm like looking at them, no, what the fuck's going on? And then I go, ready to go, go. And I was on Queer Street, didn't even know what the hell was going on. And he came up and rattled me with a combination. But that's not an excuse, but it's what happened. All my losses, I can have pretty good arguments for why I lost that were legal, but you know, you pull over on the side of the street at midnight drunk off your ass and someone hits you with a tire iron, you don't get to say, hey, you're cheating, you know, so that's what happened.
I guess your fight with Kimbo Slice had the all-time ratings record for MMA history in the U.S. which I guess was a 3.7 rating, 6 million homes. How did you feel about that when you heard about that?
You know what? I figured it takes two to make a good fight, and I knew because everybody wanted to fight Kimbo in the house. They're like, dude, I want to fight Kimbo. I want to fight Kimbo. I'm like, I don't want to fight Kimbo at all. And they're like, you're crazy. And I'm like, no, it's not. I just don't want to fight Kimbo. And they're like, why? Because if I fight Kimbo, I want to get paid. Right. I forgot. You guys forget that we're prize fighters. We're supposed to be fighting for money, and that for being an all-time high, the #1 show, the whole 9 years. It's that should have set me up for the rest of my life for retirement, but it didn't. I think I made $5 grand.
What was he like in the house? Was he a nice
Kimbo was definitely one of those. He was definitely a nice guy, but he was a respect guy. So he was one of those things. If you respected him, he was respectful to you. But if he didn't respect you, I'd watch out. And I call it the respect of the streets. If he thought you were a piece of shit, he would let you know that you were a piece of shit.